Welcome back to Good Morning LaLa. On Wealth Wednesday, we love to celebrate women entrepreneurs, and today we have an extraordinary one, beautiful in all yellow today. Alicia Dunams, amazing. She is a speaker, author, and the book I Get To, which is fantastic, talking all about how to use the right words that can radically transform your life, relationships, and business. Thank you so much.
Welcome to the show.
It's wonderful to be here. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We're hashtag open for business.
Open for business, heart-based business. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, you are up to so many incredible things in the world of entrepreneurship and really, truly being a pioneer and a female leader. So thank you for all the work you've done. Really, truly, it's incredible. And I think it's so important to have the conversation about reframing your mindset by simply the verbiage you're using.
So
Let's
important.
start there.
Imperative.
Absolutely. I firmly believe that language is life. And what you say, you create. It's the power of the spoken word. And what's something that's really important to me and to teach my clients and when I go and speak at corporations is that, it all begins with what you say. So you have inspired thought and you take committed action. And part of taking committed action is the words that you use. So something that I share with my clients, I have a program called Bestseller in a Weekend, and I help people write books, is that even saying out to your Facebook community, et cetera, that you are writing a book, first of all, it puts skin in the game. It gives it accountability. It turns it from dream life into real life. So really something important. Now, when it comes to reframing the words that you use, something that's important is I heard you speaking about trying. So when you say, I'll try, you are really failing with honor.
Completely.
So when you tell your kids, I'll try to pick you up from school at 3 p.m.
Yeah.
Or I'll try to make your baseball game.
That means it's not going to happen, just so you know.
Yeah, there's the potential of it not happening. And
It's like when people say, I'll try and make your event. Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, I'll see you there.
well, yes, that's kind of an LA thing. I'll try. It's like, well, pretty much, it's either say yes or no. I am committed to being at your baseball game. I am committed to coming to your event. And so the words we use, the way we craft our words are really important in terms of the life that we want to lead. I talk about, for example, disappointed. When someone says, I'm disappointed, that's a very victim state of mind. Now, of course, we are disappointed by people. What I look at it is, how can you be appointed? I'm appointed to share my truth in this moment. I'm appointed to share what comes up for me when you do this, for example. So instead of being dejected and disappointed, come from a place where you're appointed like a queen or a king, where the language you use not only stands for yourself, but you get to stand for the other person as well.
So true. We teach it in spirituality that the universe does not know any future or past, doesn't know penny from $1 billion. So it's very important. Like, you set your goals and affirmations of I am instead of I will or someday, whatever. So important. Language is everything. So how do you take this into a weekend to create their books with it, or is this a separate? You do coaching with their language separate from?
Well, yes, I have two programs. I have a program called I Get To, which is a conscious community, coaching community, communication community. Something that's important that we're seeing what's happening in the world we live in now in terms of politics is politicians pander to our critter brain. So for the sake of simplicity, we have two brains. We have our amygdala and our prefrontal cortex. So I call the amygdala our critter brain. And so politicians pander to scarcity thinking. And they pander to fear-based. And what we're seeing is a tribalism happening. It's me against you, us against them. That's what's happening in the world. And something that's important, and one of the concepts in my book is what I call the we collective. When you say something like this, what can we do to? Because when we do, we will. For example, what can we do to bridge the pay gap in this organization? Because when we do, we'll attract the best talent. We'll create a company culture that thrives, and we'll get great PR. So maybe in the Senate or the Congress, instead of being against each other,
completely.
What can we do too? Because when we do,
we need you in politics. We need you in politics. You have to go up there.
She is in a very subtle way, in a much more significant way.
We know it's so important. I remember working with a mentor years back, very spiritual. And even when you're sick, you're not supposed to say, I'm sick. I'm experiencing being sick, because you're not that. So language is so profound when you get to the core of it. And our language is really kind of whacked out, really. So even the I, there's no I, right? So what is the I?
Oh, removing yourself, removing responsibility. And what I call responsibility is response ability. It's how you respond. So there's a conversation. There are victims. Yes, there are victims of crimes. There are victims. I mean, we look at the world we live in. There are victims. And there's a victimized mentality as well. And so, yes, honor yourself if you've been victimized. Honor another person lovingly. And how you move forward is, how do I respond to this? Do I stay in victim mode? Or do I respond in a way where I create a movement? I create a nonprofit. I support and mentor other people so this doesn't happen to them. So it's how we respond to the events and circumstances in our life will determine the outcome, will determine the life that we live and what we create in the world.
Such a great point. So the question I kind of have is, language, of course, it's critical, and I just love the book, and I love your message, and it's most of the work that I do with executives around massaging language in ways that allows people to receive what you've said and apply it, right? But part of the challenge and the opportunity is identifying what we're optimizing for when we use language. I think that for most people is somewhat unclear. So in certain circumstances, might say, "Oh, I want them to know my truth," but they can't hear your truth if you're screaming it at them, no matter how loud you scream, because you've shut down their mind and their heart to receive it. So talk a little bit, if you can, about what we should be optimizing language for, right?
So it's not only the words we say, it's the intonation behind the words we say. So that's really important, because you could say something like, "What do you mean by that?" Or you can say, "Oh, I'm curious, what do you mean by that?" So something that I teach a lot is softening our language so it lands in a way, because when you are in confrontation, when you're in, talking about the elephant in the room, for example, when you come at it in an attack mode, when you come at it in an angry mode, you create more of that. I have a concept in my book called blank people. So angry people, anger people. Hurt people, hurt people. Disconnected people, disconnect from people. And so just even the intonation is coming from a place of joy, coming from a place of connection. So connected people connect with people. Healed people heal people. Yeah. And so, when you're talking about that particular example, is how let it land in a way where my truth in this moment is, or my experience is, or I have thoughts of, and just the softness in it. It creates an ability to go back and forth versus coming at, and that's really good if you have a partner or a spouse or husband or wife, because if you attack, what's going to come back at you?
But just to play devil's advocate for a minute, because working with so many clients, I found that they could try and pretend to be changing their language, but if they don't truly believe it and it's not an authentic thing, it's just not going to stay.
Wow, you make a really important point. So we live on automatic. We're living our lives. We often don't see our blind spots. I know I have blind spots, and I need someone else, a coach or example, to say, okay, these are your blind spots. So the first step is, okay, so we live on automatic, and we might say, I get to go to work, and it feels super inauthentic. Like I get to go to work, and then what happens is you start saying it, and it over time the language you start living it. It's like, oh wow, and then you're writing your gratitude journal and stuff. I get to go to work. I have health insurance. I get to go to work. Some people don't have a job. I get to go, and so it moves from the automatic or the intellectualized, like being intellectual about it, into being fully integrated on a cellular level, which takes work, which is a moment by moment. This is what we work on in our life. Is wow, we talked about abundance. Is abundance fully integrated, or are you still stressed about finances or what have you? And so you start saying it, I am abundant, I am abundant, and money comes easily and frequently. You might not really believe it. And then as you start really focusing on it, giving gratitude to it, it's a process, right? I would say. It's a practice.
Shoveled Shin does that, where she gives I used to think affirmations were like once or twice a day or whatever, and she does do it for an hour a day. I'm like, okay, it's like a whole gangster of affirmations. So I agree, but yeah, I do think that if you're going to reprogram through language, it's an intense way to it, because you've got to do it repetitively. Like, it's got to be a huge commitment.
Well, you have to be present and mindful in the situation and aware of the words, and it's a conscious choice. Until you reprogram it enough to really do that, you have to be solid and present in that.
Yeah.
It's a choice.
And I sort of hear a sort of two-pronged approach. One is sort of the outside-in approach, where language is not just describing what you're thinking, but it's informing what you're thinking and saying, right? And so that's but there's also an inside-out approach with respect to, which is what both Erin and Jessalyn said, and you speak to really eloquently, is that you can't fake it. It's got to be real. And so, and when you're trying to fake it, you don't even have access to the thoughts and words that will allow you to fake it well, right? And all the micro expressions and everything comes through in your verbal and nonverbal, gesture. You can't hide it, right? So what would you sort of tell people who are constantly coming from a place of reactivity, and despite using the right words, everyone feels in their intonation, in their pitch, in the rate of speech, that they're just not able to buy it because they're just coming through so angry or so upset?
Is to tell the truth. Is like, for example, saying, if you're like, I'm not angry, and you're talking to your husband, I'm not angry, is to be honest. It's like, wow, what's coming up for me in this moment is I have thoughts of anger.
Yeah.
I'm really upset because of X, Y, Z, and give me a moment. Can I have a moment? A simple pause. Meditation. So one way, because the transfer from the reactive to the responsive mind could be as simple as 3 breaths. Could be as simple as a pause. So pausing is part of my book as well. Do not say anything. And if someone is wanting you to say something, or you're in a heated argument, for example, can I have a moment? Is it okay if I get back to you later today?
So good. There was a period in my life, I remember in early adulthood, when I would get upset, I was committed to not saying anything that was going to be hurtful. I would literally put my hand here and hold my lips closed. Because if I did not do that, I was going to say something that I would probably later regret.
Yes.
So
I may have seen you do that once.
I don't need to do that quite as much.
You have self-awareness around that, and that's part of being emotionally intelligent, is being self-aware and knowing that, okay, I'm triggered in this particular situation. And so being honest about it, it's like, wow, I'm triggered right now. I need a moment. And again, the softening is really important. And managing your emotions is important. And empathy at the end of the day. We all have something to work on. Even it doesn't matter how enlightened, how many books we've written, how many books we've read. We all have something that we get to work on. And that is our journey in this lifetime. And so enrolling people in our journey, it's like, I need help on this particular thing. I need help on being more empathetic. I need help on being a generous listener. And then people can say, oh, wow, you're not being a generous listener right now. It's like, okay, great. Thank you for shining a mirror up to me. So that we collective, that we're on this journey together, and it's okay. We're not perfect. I'm not perfect. I'm a mother of a 16-year-old, and she'll be like, "You're not doing what you said in my book." And I'm like, you know what? Thank you for calling me forth.
So true.
Thank you for calling me forth.
Well, where can people find you and work with you?
Absolutely. Well, you can find the book on Amazon.com, and you can go to AliciaDunams.com. Or if you want to write a book, I wrote this book in 15 days.
Amazing.
I wrote it in 15 days. I did it during my weekend workshop, and then I spent 10 days, 3 a.m. to 7 p.m. just getting this out, because it was important, because the message in there was I was a vessel, it was a conduit. It wasn't about me, it was supporting the world in using language to change, to create impact.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
For sharing your time.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back.